the most important characters in the story of the birth of our Lord is King Herod. It really is very important. Because today in our gospel reading, he is an important character, and we must not set that aside. Yes, there's a mention of the Magi. In Matthew's gospel, there is no mention of shepherds or stables. There's only an occasional mention of an angel, but that's in a different context altogether. We tend to think of the Magi and the shepherds, but there's this event which takes place which really has little to do with shepherds, a little bit to do with the Magi, but a lot to do with Herod. And that has to do with the flight to Egypt. In the middle of the night, the angel tells Joseph, take Mary and take the child and flee to Egypt. Because Herod has evil design on the child. He's been informed, of course, Herod has been informed, that these wise men from the east have come to worship and adore the new king of Israel. Well, now, wait a minute. Herod's the king of Israel. There are not two kings of Israel. There's just Herod. But they've come to make this announcement that somehow or another they've been able to read in the stars that this child has been born. So they go to Jerusalem to inquire. And Herod says, I don't know what you're talking about. And inquiry is made, you see. Well, then, you see, well, it's in Bethlehem. Well, why don't you go and find this child so I can come and adore this child also? He doesn't need the competition. His throne is pretty shaky anyway, because he's there by the great good grace of the Roman occupiers, and he's going to protect his interests. By the way you protect your interests is you get rid of the competition. He's very good at that. He's a mean, vicious killer. So if somebody's going to try and take your place, you do them in. He has a design. He's going to kill the kid. So there won't be competition. Send the Magi off, say, you let me know where he is, and I'll come and see him. They leave town another way. They're not about to go back to heaven. Because they've been warned. This has evil design for the kid. So Joseph and Mary and Jesus become refugees in Egypt. They flee to a place of safety. There's been a place of safety before, by the way. Israel ended up in Egypt, and it was secure, and it was peaceful, and things went well. Well, then the persecution started, and then they had to become refugees. Well, they left to come back home. Led by Moses. Jesus is following that same pattern with his family. And so they stay in Egypt until Herod's dead, and the conspiracies and the plots have died away. And now it's safe to come home. And the angel tells Joseph in a dream, again, the angels have their messages. Go back home. Establish your family there. Because it's in Israel that the work needs to be done. But this child who has been born miraculously, we know that story from Luke particularly, that it's there that work needs to be done. Well, but it's still dangerous territory. Archelaus, one of Herod's who's inherited some of the power, is going to have the same kinds of attitudes towards the competition. Maybe not quite as fierce. And he really doesn't know much about, he doesn't know anything about these returning refugees. But Joseph said, well, we've already had trouble before, let's not get into the middle of it again. And so they establish themselves in Nazareth, establish a new home. And this gives the opportunity to reflect on what the prophets have said in the past, that God has revealed to them in the past about his purpose of redemption and the calling of his people and the fulfillment of the covenant. That would be called a Nazarene. Now, of course he's a Nazarene. He lives in Nazareth. But also, Nazarene is understood to be a person who has been blessed by God, is a holy person, and so Jesus is a good description of him. And also, you can play all sorts of things with these words. that Nazareth, it also means he's a branch. It's something which grows out. A branch growing from Jesse, father of King David. Jesus, in a very real sense, inherits that title, that calling. But it's all been made possible in a very odd way by Herod's vicious temper and his desire to hold on to the power. And he's going to do away with the competition. When those sort of things occur, and what we'll have to do is to watch the television and read the newspaper and listen to the radio. We know what is occurring in a very vicious and mean world. We end up with refugees trying to flee to places of safety. It's the same pattern. Nothing new. But there are those times where the places of safety do exist. Egypt is one of them for Jesus. But of course, in the long run, there has to be a place of security and peace, stability, where the work can be done. And that's when the Holy Family are called back to Israel, so that Jesus can grow there and learn and enter into his redemptive ministry. Yes, there will always be problems. We all know the story. We celebrate it every year. But it's here that needs to take place. So then, how do we apply that to our own lives, to our own self? And there are times when we end up feeling attacked, that we're in danger, there's problems, that people are after us. It could be physically, it could be mentally, it could be spiritually, it could be socially, it could be, you fill in the blank. We need a place where we can have that refuge, that safe place. Sometimes it is a matter of crossing over a border of some sort, even just leaving town, coming back. In many cases, what is the place that we can find that peace and security, the place of refuge? It's right here, in the confines of this building, which houses the church, it houses a place where we can reside and live safely with Jesus. Doesn't mean that everything's going to be sweetness and light all the time. But this is the place we have that place of refuge. There are going to be Herods in our lives. That's a given. But there is also the peace and the security and the safety of the refuge, and that is the church itself. That's what we're called upon to be. It's a place that we can come for our own security and safety. But it's also the place where we can call others in and say, we have a place of refuge. We have a place of safety. We have a place where God's peace and security can be yours as well. That is the opportunity we have, is to be refugees, yes, but to welcome others into the refuge and find in that place where we are, the place where God's work and ministry will be done. Just as Jesus returns to this world to do the work, we can draw others in to be part of that work. And yes, Herod's an important Herod, but we've got him beat. We really do. The angel calls us back. And it's there. His designs are forfeit, and our lives remain peaceful and secure in the redeeming Jesus.